What's up guys? In this video I'm going to talk about my entire computer science degree and every single class I took. I'm actually from Puerto Rico and I went to study at the Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio. When it was time to move out to college, I was honestly pretty scared and nervous, but it was also exciting to start a new life in somewhere brand new. I basically got into Ohio State as a computer science pre-major that was an absolute beginner with pretty much no coding experience and some basic knowledge of HTML and CSS. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The very first computer science class I took first semester of freshman year was about learning to code with C++. You know, variables, if statements, loops, functions, classes, that sort of thing. I was honestly pretty confused in this class at the beginning. We had to do these coding exercises every week that got harder and harder, and some actually took me like 10 hours to do. But these things honestly saved me and helped me figure out what was going on. As an engineering student, this semester I also had to take Calculus 1, Physics 1, and Fundamentals of Engineering, which was basically a class about all the different engineering tracks so that you could figure out which one you liked best. My first semester of college was probably the hardest because I was still making new friends, the weather was a lot colder than I was used to, and the classes hit me pretty hard. Moving on to my second semester of freshman year, I learned Java and object-oriented programming in a class called Sophomore 1. This class wasn't too difficult, especially after taking C++ in the semester before. I also took Fundamentals of Engineering 2 this semester. I remember we made these 3D models of a little car we would run on a railing in the roof of the classroom we were in. I took Calculus 2, which was probably the hardest class I took in college, an English writing class, and Intro to Jazz. I took Intro to Jazz thinking it would be an easy and fun A, but it was actually kind of hard and really time consuming. I had to listen to these 3-hour-long playlists to analyze the music and then write papers about it. Let's move on to sophomore year. This semester I took Software 2, which is basically a continuation to Software 1, which I took the previous semester, and I learned some of the basics of data structures and algorithms. I did pretty good in this class, and I actually ended up being a TA for it in the following semester. I also took Foundations 1, which also had to do with data structures and algorithms, but I really don't remember much about it. The other non-CS classes I took were Dynamic Earth, Intro to Psychology, and Intro to Stats. After taking Intro to Stats, I realized I really wasn't interested in statistics or probability very much. In the spring of sophomore year, I was a TA for Software 2. I took Foundations 2, which was a much deeper dive into data structures and algorithms, where we would analyze the time and space complexity of algorithms with Big O notation. This class is probably top 2 in the hardest classes I took in college. Other than that, I also learned how to code in C and some assembly language in a class called Systems 1, Introduction to Low-Level Programming. I barely remember any of the assembly language stuff. I also took an electrical engineering class called Intro to Digital Logic, Linear Algebra, and Introduction to Rural Sociology, which was recommended by a friend as an easy general education class. Alright, let's move on to junior year. First semester of junior year, I took a class called Systems 2, which was basically about how operating systems work. It was kind of an interesting class, but it was also kind of hard and the professor wasn't great. I took Intro to Artificial Intelligence, and that's when I realized I really didn't want to do AI or machine learning because I really didn't enjoy stats or probability very much, and you have to do a lot of that. For my non-CS classes, I took 20th Century Fashion, which was also recommended by a friend as an easy class to take, an electrical engineering class on circuits, Foundations of Higher Math, which was basically about how to write mathematical proofs, and Table Tennis 1, which I took with a friend, and we were basically able to play ping pong for fun 2 times a week. Second semester of junior year is when COVID hit, and basically I had to do the rest of the classes I'm going to talk about now back home in Puerto Rico, which was pretty crazy. I took Introduction to Database Systems this semester. This was a really good class to take. We learned a bunch of SQL, and I still use a lot of the stuff I learned in that class. I also took a web apps project course this semester. I was basically assigned a team, and we had to build several web-related projects throughout the semester. We learned basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and how to build a backend web server with Ruby and the Rails framework. The last computer science class I took this semester was called the Unix programming environment. It was only 1 credit hour, and I basically learned how to use a bunch of different Unix commands. For my non-CS classes this semester, I took Intro to Physical Anthropology, code breaking, and also an English writing class that was about video games. We got to play God of War and Hellblade and write papers about it. That was a cool class to take. Alright, we've made it to senior year. For my first semester of senior year, the computer science classes I took were Principles of Programming Languages, Computer Networking, and Intro to Data Mining. Principles of Programming Languages was one of my favorite computer science classes in college. It was about how programming languages are made, how they work, and we got to write an interpreter and a compiler for a made-up language. Computer Networking basically taught me how the internet works, but this class was kind of difficult. Intro to Data Mining I didn't enjoy very much because again it was a bunch of stats and a bunch of probability. And then for my non-CS classes, I took an entrepreneurship course and also a class on computer ethics. Moving on to my final semester of college, the computer science classes I took were mobile app development, software engineering, and capstone. In the mobile apps class, we did Android app development. In the software engineering class, we basically learned about agile software development, how to do sprints, and how to manage software projects. This class in theory was pretty practical, but I wasn't able to follow along very well, so I don't remember much. For capstone, you're assigned a team that is then connected with a company that they call the sponsor, which wants to build a software project. Basically, my team had to build a web server API with Python and the Django framework for this company. It was cool to get hands-on experience doing a real-world project with a real company. And finally, I took classical mythology, which was recommended by a lot of people as a really easy class to take. And I also took information security, hoping that it would be about the technical side of securing software, but it was a lot more about the business side of things. And that's it. Those are all of the classes I took in college. Graduating from Ohio State as a computer science engineer was honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. But I'm so glad I did it. It's really helped me grow as a person, and I've made some awesome friends and really good memories. And I also think it taught me how to think like a proper engineer and a software developer. You can definitely become a developer without going to college, but yeah, that's just my personal experience. Alright guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video and you were able to learn something. Don't forget to leave a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. See you guys in the next one. Peace.